Once Shenmue II finally arrived on North American shores, fans began to wait for word on the sequel. Initially, information was slim on the third installment of Shenmue. With Microsoft having already bought the rights to Shenmue II and releasing it on the Xbox, it seemed likely Shenmue III would arrive on the same console. Unfortunately, the abysmal sales of Shenmue II threw out more confusion to the series' fate. Yu Suzuki was reported to saying that the third installment of Shenmue would feature the rest of the chapters in the Shenmue saga and finish the story. However, with each passing year, there was no official word from Sega on the game at all. The development of Shenmue III has been a bit of an enigma to both gamers and journalists. Most of what people know of the game has been through leaked bits of information from Sega over the years. Some of it could be considered official, while others could merely be pure speculation. Sega's current standing on the game is that there were no plans for it. However, sources inside Sega have said that the game was once in development before being halted. The production of Shenmue III came during a time when Sega was going through some major changes within the company. It's not official whether what happened at Sega during the time directly affected Shenmue III, but it's something that should be worth noting. Since 1984, Isao Okawa and his company CSK Holdings Corporation had the most shares over Sega, thus making him the chairman of Sega Enterprises. Isao Okawa was recognized by the Japanese government for his aid in financially supporting numerous Japanese technology companies. Along with supplying Sega with over $40 million of his own money to fund the Sega Dreamcast, he also forgave the debts Sega owed him and gave the company his Sega and CSK stock worth in excess of $700 million. In March 2001, Isao Okawa died at Tokyo University Hospital due to heart failure after a long battle with cancer. He was 74. By 2002, after being faced with excessive debt and competition, Sega officially discontinued the Dreamcast hardware and moved out of the hardware manufacturing business. They announced that they would instead focus on being a software manufacturer. Despite producing big games like Yu Suzuki's Virtua Fighter 4 and Sonic Heroes, the company fell on hard times. Sega eventually sold a controlling majority of its shares to SAMMY, a company known in Japan mostly for its pachinko machines. This led to the merger of the two companies into Sega Sammy Holdings, one of the biggest game manufacturing companies in the world. With the new chairman at the helm, Sega would begin to focus on its profit-making arcade business rather than its loss-making home software development. Soon, Sega began selling off many second-party development studios while absorbing others. In the years that followed, many of Sega's longtime developers began departing from Sega to form their own independent studios. Tetsuya Mizuguchi, the creator of Space Channel 5 and Rez, left to found Q Entertainment. Naoto Oshima, lead designer of such games as Sonic the Hedgehog, Knights, and Phantasy Star, left Sonic Team to form the independent game company Artoon. Yuji Naka, the lead programmer behind many of Sega's games, went off to create his own game studio independent of Sega. One of the few longtime developers to remain at Sega was Yu Suzuki. This fact always allowed fans to hope for another installment of Shenmue. Unfortunately, bad news was on the rise when in 2003 it was announced that Yu Suzuki would no longer remain at AM2, his longtime development studio. Instead, he would move on to a new independent studio called Digital Rex.
Okay, a lot of fans have written to us to ask when the heck Shenmue 3 is going to come out, and the only news we have about it is that we have no news about it.
We don't know.
Nothing has been announced, but we will let you know as soon as there is some news that we can chat about.
Yeah, well, we were sharers.
It wouldn't be until 2004 that fans would finally hear news of a game based in the Shenmue universe, but it would be something that fans probably weren't expecting. In 2004, Sega announced Shenmue Online, an MMORPG set in the world of Shenmue. Instead of playing as the game's main protagonist Ryo Hazuki, players would step into the role of nameless fighters and battle in real-time action. They would have a choice between three types of fighters, one who specializes in kung fu, Chinese weapons, or mystic powers. While the project was being supervised by Yu Suzuki, the game was being developed by South Korean developer JC Entertainment and set for a 2005 release in Korea and China. While this was obviously not what fans would have wanted in a new Shenmue game, they were at least glad to see that Sega still had an interest in the franchise. However, by the next year, the project began encountering all kinds of problems. Development was supposedly halted and transferred to another studio. Reports from the staff said the game was even cancelled. The game was shown again in 2006 but was eventually cancelled entirely. In 2005, the London-based video game website Kikizo ran an exclusive article confirming that Shenmue III does exist and is indeed planned for a release. According to the article, sources close to the development of Shenmue revealed to them that the project has essentially been close to being finished and ready for some time now, but has been held back due to a pending deal for the entire series on at least one next-gen console. Yu Suzuki was reported to having very little involvement with the project besides providing the original story. Instead of including the remaining chapters of the series, Shenmue III would encompass all 16 chapters, providing newcomers with a more complete product. Unfortunately, time passed and nothing came of Shenmue III, and Sega of America denied its existence. Many people who were following the story began to blame Kikizo for inaccurate reporting and questioned the website's credibility, which hurt their reputation as well. Kikizo has gone on record saying that what they reported was fair and the facts were true, and blamed the following absence of Shenmue III on the bad miscommunication at Sega of America and the way things are currently being run. So, years continued to pass, and many fans hoping for a Shenmue III began to give up hope for the game to ever see the light of day. Still, some were determined to experience the ending to the Shenmue story even if they had to make their own. Back in 2002, a group of amateur filmmakers at Gang Entertainment began developing live-action spoofs of the Shenmue games.
Shenmue came along, it opened up this whole... It opened up the rest of the gaming world to me. Playing through Shenmue for the first time was such a memorable experience because it was the first time that I had played a game like that where the story was the main focus. You know, playing games like Sonic all my life, I had missed out, you know, on Metal Gear Solid and all that the first time around, and it was the game that showed me what a storytelling medium video games could be. It was the first time that I had become so immersed in the world of a game that, to me, nothing has ever compared to the experience that I had playing the first Shenmue. Well, me and my friends started making movies when we were in high school. It was just something that we were doing for fun, just goofing around. We had a VHS camera, no editing software, nothing serious about it. No one was ever meant to see these movies. We were just doing them for ourselves.
The films followed closely to the storylines in the video games, but were approached in a more humorous nature along with added references to popular movies and video games.
The script for all three of the movies was developed by me and Terry. We worked on it together. We came up with the jokes together in the first place, and then we would kind of build the script around the jokes. So we had, I mean, the story for Shenmue 1 and 2 was already laid out for us. It was just a matter of which parts were we going to keep in, which parts were we going to get rid of, and which parts were we totally going to twist around into something, you know, really absurd.
The first thing we did actually was try to cast all our friends immediately, because that's what we do when we think of a movie.
If you watch, you know, 5 minutes into the first movie, I could see people going, you know, what the hell is this? Why am I watching these kids screwing around in their basement? I think the problem with these misconceptions is that they really all stem from the first movie. With the first movie, you'll notice that there's only really two locations. There's my house and there's Terry's house, and we were able to fake all the locations in the game and just, you know, put them in those locations. And you've got Terry as the main character, some of our friends playing the other main characters, and everybody else is played by me. And somehow we pulled it off. Since that first one, people really, they don't think ahead to see how much better we've become. And so they watch the first 5 minutes of the first movie and decide that it's crap and don't watch any of the other ones. The other misconception that that people have a lot is that because it's a Shenmue movie, it's just about Shenmue, and so if you haven't played Shenmue, you're not going to get it at all. But with each of the movies, we included so many other elements from other pieces of pop culture, specifically nerd pop culture, that I think the movie's really accessible to a lot more people. There's jokes, there's a Metal Gear Solid bit in every movie. We include elements from Lord of the Rings and Final Fantasy and Star Wars. Ryo fights with a lightsaber in all three movies. And so it's not just a Shenmue spoof, it's a general spoof based, but we throw all the other jokes into the world of Shenmue. So really, we use the world of Shenmue as kind of a framing device to do all these jokes about other things too.
The movies began to develop a devoted following on the internet and led to a growing popularity of the group.
We put it on the internet at the Shenmue Dojo website, and that's when people first saw it.
There was maybe one or two negative comments, you know, on the dojo forums. I wasn't impressed by any of it. The dialogue was horrible. The voice acting was even worse. We are just spitting in its face.
The feedback that we've gotten from Shenmue fans has been really positive over the years. We were really surprised when, you know, all of a sudden we would go on the forums and people were making topics about how funny the movie was and saying how much they enjoyed it, because we were kind of baffled by how much people enjoyed it.
Oh, you mean all 10 of them? Yeah, they all liked it. There may have been a little more to it than that.
And when we first started getting comments from people saying, hey, that was really funny, we loved your movie, and that's the entire reason that we decided to continue making movies, because we thought, if people think this crap is good, then, you know, what happens if we get really good at this? And that's how we ended up, you know, going to college and majoring in film, and then we went on to do Shenmue 2 and 3 and the other jillion movies that we've done over the years.
You guys are still eating it up, so that's cool.
It was after that first year of college that we realized now we had the means to do another Shenmue movie, because we had all sorts of new friends who were willing to be in the movie, and once we had the cast, we had planned the script for, you know, since the first one, so we went ahead and did it. With Shenmue 2, it was 2 years after we had done the first Shenmue movie, and we were in college, and we had done a couple of other short movies in between. Shenmue 2 was the most popular movie that we ever did, because during the whole production process we were updating, you know, we were posting screens on the Shenmue forums for people to see, and people were just so excited. And when it came out, you know, we've never had so much fan mail. It was really outstanding.
By 2006, they got tired of waiting for Sega to release Shenmue III, so they devised their own story for the third installment and made a movie out of it.
So, without any hope of a third game ever coming out, we decided we had to either make our own or just let it go, because by the time the third game did come out, or does come out in the future, we're just going to be too old, and it's going to be a little bit too difficult to go back and finish our trilogy. Making two Shenmue movies and not having a conclusion, it aggravated us, you know, just as much, if not more, than the fans that wanted a third game. So, already having the power of being able to make movies like this, and you know, already having two movies made underneath us, it was almost necessary for us to finish it. You know, we wanted it to be concluded probably more than anyone else.
We decided to make Shenmue 3 basically because we got tired of waiting. Just like all the other fans, we were coming up with our own ideas all this time about, you know, what could happen in Shenmue 3. What do you think is going to happen? And, you know, after a couple of years, we'd come up with so many theories and so many jokes also, that eventually we had enough that we thought we could make our own script and make our own conclusion. And once it became evident that Sega wasn't going to be coming out with Shenmue 3 for the foreseeable future, we decided, why don't we just go ahead and do our own version of the story and see how that goes.
You know, why not?
And it was that same longing for a sense of closure that we just decided, let's do it ourselves. And really, I hate to start something and then not finish it. And so that's why, as we made all these other movies, I kept thinking, I really wish Sega would come out with Shenmue 3 so that we could finish our trilogy and, you know, not leave that hanging. And so when Sega didn't do it, we just figured, what the hell, let's finish it ourselves.